I wanted to start with a student because I thought this is a story about student voting, so I wanted to get a perspective on someone who wasn't super passionate about voting right away. So when I reached out to him originally, he kind of wasn't planning on voting and was kind of overall confused about Wisconsin voter ID laws. And then when I actually got to talk to him, we talked about how one of his friends actually kind of peer pressured him into voting. So he ended up voting from his home state of New York. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to someone and get different perspectives kind of on why students vote. I know I have heard a lot of people kind of in my life talk about millennials not really turning out to vote. So it's kind of just this anecdotal thing that I kept hearing about young voters and that it wasn't a priority for them or they were lazy or something like that. So it was kind of important to me to hear different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely can relate to that. I feel like a lot of millennials are shamed for not being involved in the political process, even though there are definitely a lot of people who are passionate about it.
Right.
And can you kind of talk about some of the obstacles that young people in Wisconsin particularly might face when they try to go to the ballot box to vote? Yeah,
so Wisconsin does have a photo ID law that was implemented in May 2016. So the 2016 presidential election would have been the first time that it was put in place. So when you went to the election, you had to have a photo ID, or a lot of Marquette students would use a voter ID. And the big difference between a voter ID and let's say your Marquette student ID is that a voter ID has an expiration date on it, so it'll tell you when you are, like when the ID itself expires, and it'll also have a signature at the bottom, whereas your Marquette ID doesn't have that. So
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
And your article also cited some studies that pointed out that people vote more in presidential elections than they do in midterm elections. So can you just kind of talk about why that is?
Right, so the reason for that is kind of contested. I think one of the big reasons is just kind of participating in a presidential election kind of means more it's something we're all doing as a country, as opposed to just kind of like specifically state by state. And also people just connect a lot more, I think, over who's running for the presidential office. A lot of voters and students don't necessarily know all of the kind of different positions that would be on the ballot for a statewide election.
Gotcha. And then I know your article also mentioned that millennials make up more than a quarter of the voting eligible population. So how can millennials truly make a difference this election cycle?
So just by virtue of how many millennials there are, like you said, they're at about a quarter, and they are right behind baby boomers, who are like 30% of the voting age population. So if they turn out for the causes that they believe in, just by virtue of the size of that demographic, they can definitely make a difference and elect people who represent them and the issues that they care about.
Gotcha. And then really quickly, what is Marquette doing to help students register to vote and get to the election ballot boxes?
So Marquette's doing a number of different things. One of the things they're doing, you can go to the Union Station and get your voter ID. There's also a website that has all the different information if you want to register as an absentee, if you're out of state. So there is a website.
I want to say it's marquette.edu/vote.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And then there are also a lot of organizations that are doing things too to promote voting.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on tonight to
absolutely.
talk about it. And we are done for the night, so back to you guys.